Dear students, as I had given a brief introduction to you people in my last video, so let me start with the story now. The writer says that he was living in a big city, in a valley of mountains, some 1500 miles from his home. Somewhere in a far off place, no, which is not near to his home. That's what he wants to say. Somewhere in a very distant place, far away place, where he says the people are very cruel. They are not peace-loving people. Murder, robbery, pickpocketing, these were daily occurrences. Daily occurrences, like in our cities, we do have daily functions like marriages, housewarming ceremonies, christening ceremonies. Right? In the same way, in this village in which the narrator was living, he says murder, robbery, and pickpocketing were daily occurrences. Means people were used to it, and people were very cruel. What did they do? They were professional soldiers, he says. They used to fight for those who paid them. Means no any nationality, no any moral value in them. They are paid contract killers in a way. And even they work as security guards in the big cities, and they were uh, people who used to lend money on interest. Money was highly valued by them. For money, they would do anything, even commit murder. This line explains everything about those people. There was only God for them, and that God is money. In front of money, everything was worthless, everything was meaningless. So they used to worship money in a way, and they could do anything for the sake of money. And in that village of cruel people, greedy people, where did he live? He says he was living in a small room, very small, dingy room. Dingy, dark, not so, bright room. Dingy, something like shabby, very odd appearing, very dark, not sufficiently lit with light. Dingy room on a dirty street, somewhere like suburban slum areas. Means he was a poor man, he was not a native of that village. So he was living in a small room, a rented room in suburban areas, like slum areas. That's why he says he was living in a small room on a dirty street. And he had a profession, he had a job to do there. What was his job? He was teaching English. Yeah, like me. He too was teaching English. And to whom he was teaching English? He was teaching English to some migrant laborers. Migrant laborers means one who come to the city from other cities to work. They are not natives, they are from some other cities. So he used to teach them English, not the way we learn English. He used to teach them how to write address in English. See, you have to imagine that this is a pre-independent India. We are in the age of pre-independence, where English was highly respected. Very few people used to learn English. Few people used to write in English. And in those days, the writing in English was a great education for the people. And they had a profession, they had a business from those skills too. And what was that business? They used to sit in front of post offices. They used to write addresses on the envelopes, because postal service was managed by British India. And if you write in Kannada, Hindi, Malayali language, they cannot read them. So that is how this was a profession at that time, to write addresses on the envelopes in English language. And this, our hero, the writer, he used to teach the migrant laborers the skills of writing address in English. Why? Because he had to escape the same fate. If he had not taught them how to write, he would go and sit in front of the post office. He had no other alternative. He had no other source of income. So to escape that situation of sitting in front of the post office, he started teaching English, taking tuition classes, teaching them how to write postal address in English language. And they were paid somewhere around 1 anna and 4 annas. It was not a bad thing. 1 anna and 4 annas. 4 anna means a big amount at that time. They could buy their day meal or something like that, 1 anna to 4 annas. So it was his income, the person who used to sit in front of the post office. So our writer did that job, and he could save some money too, and see if he could I could save some money. In those days I would sleep all day and wake up at 4 in the evening. This was to save the expense of drinking my morning tea or eating the noon meals. He was a poor man. He had been to that city to earn money. You have to remember that thing. So he says he used to sleep whole day. He used to get up at 4 in the evening. Why to get up at 4 in the evening? To save the money which he could spend on morning tiffin, noon meals, breakfast, tea, and other things. To save that amount, he used to sleep till 4 in the evening, wake up at 4, and he used to go to the hotel, eat lunch as well as dinner at the same time, means noon and night's food, single food. He used to eat it, then he used to drink a cup of tea and come back to his home and engage classes for the migrant laborers. And what was his timing? Sorry, I missed it earlier. He used to take classes from 9:30 till 11 in the night. 9:30, because these were the laborers to whom he was teaching English, isn't it? They have to complete their whole day work, and then they used to come to his house to learn to write address in English. So one day he starts his story. One day he got up at 4 p.m. as usual, finished his daily chores, and stepped out for my tea and meals, he says. Stepped out for his tea and meals. He went to a hotel, and he says, you must understand that I was dressed in a suit. He is an English teacher, remember that thing. If you don't wear a suit, if you did not wear a suit in those days, then you were not considered as educated man. So to show the people that he is educated, he can teach English, he has to present himself in a Englishman's style. So he used to wear a full suit, and he had a wallet in his coat pocket which had 14 rupees. Underline if you have a textbook with you. He had 14 rupees. He says, my life's saving at that time. Whatever he had saved by teaching those migrant laborers, by skipping his tiffin, by skipping his lunch, whatever he has saved, he says it is 14 rupees, a big amount for him. He entered a crowded restaurant and ate a full meals consisting of chapatis and meat curry, drank tea as well. The bill came to 11 annas. Underline. He had 14 rupees in his wallet and the bill came to 11 annas. Okay, everything was going good. He was wearing a suit. He was looking like a gentleman. He had ordered for a chapati and meat curry. He ate it. He drank a cup of tea. And as you know that it is a custom, when you enter a hotel, you have to come out paying the bill. And where will you pay the bill? You pay the bill at the counter. So he went to the counter to pay the bill. What was the bill? Bill was 11 annas. He had 14 rupees. He checked his wallet. He put his hands inside his pocket to pick up the wallet, and he says he started sweating profusely. Sweating ಬೆವರು. He started sweating profusely. And almost digested in an instant all that I had eaten. All that I had eaten means his stomach started making a very strange behavior. You know, when you fear something, you start some type of ache in your stomach there, some type of pain in your stomach there. So he had digested everything, all he had eaten. And he said, why was he sweating, you know? Because he said, someone has picked my pocket and taken away my wallet. He said that someone has stolen my purse, someone had picked my pocket, someone has stolen my money. The owner gave a loud guff noise, huh? Something like that. He gave a loud guff. It was a busy restaurant and it startled everybody, disturbed everybody. Everybody started looking towards the counter. Why the owner is shouting? The owner caught him by the lapel. Lapel, extended collar of the suit is called lapel. Lapel of my coat, and shaking, moving him with the collar of his coat there. He cried to shout. What did he shout? This trick won't work here. Put the money down and go, or else I will gouge your eyes out. He was living in a city filled with cruel people who respected nothing but money. Money was everything for them. So owner said, "You keep the money on the counter and go, or else I am going to gouge, remove. I am going to gouge your eyes out." He thought that somebody will help him from the crowd in the restaurant. But he says he did not see even one kind face. They had the look of hungry wolves. Wolves, tola, nari, tola, hasuda tola, hungry wolves. Everybody was eagerly waiting to see what would happen to this man. Nobody was going to help him. Nobody was going to say, "I know this man, I'm going to pay his bill." Nobody. They were all waiting to see the insult which was supposed to befall on this innocent man. And he believes that if the owner said that he is going to gouge his eyes out, then he will gouge his eyes out. There is no other escape for him, there is no other alternative for him. So he somehow wanted to escape that fate, and he planned something in his mind and said, "Let my coat be here. I will go and bring some money." The restaurant keeper laughed again. He said, "Okay, keep your coat." He asked me to take off my coat. The owner asked the writer to take off his coat. He took off it. He asked him to take off his shirt. He took off his shirt. He asked him to take off both his shoes. He took off both shoes. And finally, there was nothing left on his body except his trousers. And the restaurant keeper said, "Remove your trousers." "Take off my trousers," he said. So the idea seemed to be to strip me, gouge out my eyes, and send me out naked. He understood what the restaurant keeper was planning. He said the restaurant keeper has planned something like this to make him totally naked, stark naked, remove all his clothes, then gouge his eyes out. Blind, naked man, he was supposed to be sent out of the hotel. That is how he imagined his future would be. So he was not ready to remove his trousers. He said, "I have nothing underneath." He was not wearing anything under his pants, he said. Everyone laughed. "Ah, yes," they said. "No, no, you are telling lie." The restaurant keeper said, "I doubt it. You must have something on underneath. You must be wearing something underneath. You are telling lie. I don't believe you," he said. And about 50 people repeated. 50 people in the restaurant, they all said, there must be something on underneath. You are telling lie." They forced him to remove his pant. He said, "My hand refused to move. I saw in my imagination a man standing in the crowd, stark naked, with his eyes without his eyes. Life was going to end like that. Let it end, and for all this I never mind. O creator of the world, my God, I had nothing to say. Everything would end. Everything would end to the satisfaction of all." So he had made up his mind that this is the end of my life. Now this restaurant keeper is going to remove my all clothes, then take off my eyes, gouge out his eyes, and he will be a beggar for eternity till his death. So that is how he said his end would be. In my next video, I will finish off the story.